like to do that. You know, the more you get involved, the more it blesses you and it blesses those around you. God, you are every mountain. God, you are every ocean. God, you are every canyon, every inch of earth and sky. God, you are every morning. God, you are every midnight. God, you are every moment, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. All right, now you know how it goes. Sing a little more. God, you are every sunrise. God, you are every moon glow. God, you are every star shine, every inch of earth and sky. God, you are every springtime. God, you are every snowfall. God, you are every season, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything I see, everything below, everything I know is you. Every moment, every breath I take, and the perfect love created me. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you.
All right. It's good to start with some energy, isn't it? Warm up those chilly bones, get the blood flowing. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. I am Rev.Shad, and this is the Rev.Shad Show. So I appreciate you being here. Sorry. No, it's an everyone show. It's Erna, it's Jason, it's everyone. Okay, let's just go ahead and get started. Just to preface a little bit, back in 1920, our Unity co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founders of our movement that we're in today, sat down to write down what is this movement? What does it mean? Where are we going? What does it stand for? And they wrote down what became 32 statements of faith, 32 different statements of what we are and who we are. And so we're sort of just picking these at random as I see fit. And today we're going to do statement of faith number 10. And this is what they said. We believe in the creative power of thoughts and words, that they do accomplish that whereto they are sent, and that all men are held accountable for even their lightest words. Upon first read, this may not seem like such an impactful statement, but if we take a moment to really let it settle in and we really let these words absorb into our consciousness, they are in fact a very bold and powerful truth being shared here. A truth with far-reaching effects in our lives and in our world, with giant ramifications if you can really understand what they're getting at. So I want to break it down a bit because it's a bit much to try to chew in one bite. So let's just shorten up a bit and deal with this first. We believe in the creative power of thoughts and words. So most of our days are spent using words. I think all of us use words here probably in some sort of simple communication amongst people. I translate an idea or feeling that I'm having into words in an effort to communicate to you what I want you to understand that I'm going through. And if this is a conversation, then it is your turn to do the same back to me. But before I get much further in the explanation of this concept, I need to go on a tangent for a bit. I need to address something I've been noticing. Can we all do each other a favor and try to remember how a conversation works? What is going on with people's conversation skills today? Lately, I've noticed something happening. Maybe it's just me, so perhaps it is just me and my perception of the world, but I keep running into more and more people who talk at you instead of with you. Has anyone else noticed this? More people who just talk at you, they don't talk with you. So this is a phenomenon that I've been experiencing more and more. So let me do a quick, basic conversational etiquette refresher course for all of us so that we get on the same page here. And here's how a conversation actually is supposed to work. If you make a statement, you then allow the other person to respond to that statement. If you pose a question, you then allow the other person to respond to that question. I don't know if this is new for some of you. Hopefully not. Believe it or not, a conversation is supposed to actually involve both parties, or else it is considered what we call a lecture. So has anyone else been receiving lectures lately instead of having conversations? A nice big high hand in the back there. That's good to see. Some in the front. Here's also a good tip. A conversation is supposed to be not just me telling you all about me, right? Do we understand that point? Seems like a fundamental point. My thoughts, my feelings, my ideas, my wants, my desires. That is not a conversation. That is actually called therapy. Has anyone else been trapped in therapy sessions lately that they didn't know they were stepping into? Okay, so it's not just me. So lectures and therapy are very awkward out of their normal setting. If you're not expecting to have lecture or therapy when you stepped up to a person and talked to them, that's a very awkward situation. Anyway, so we're going to get back to where we are. Hopefully that clarifies some things for people out there who are confused about what a conversation is. So we use words to convey an idea or a feeling to someone else. But how often are we thinking about the creative power behind the words that we're choosing? Well, if you look at the beginning of the book of John, we've gone through this before, this is nothing new, but it starts out by saying, in the beginning was the Word. This experience we call life today was created by a divine word, or a divine sound, if you will, a pulse that went throughout the universe. And that creative power did not end with this word. That creative power is infused into every word and every sound from that point forward. It didn't just stop right then. It is still traveling through the words and the sounds that we make today. When we say, speak, or mumble, or yell a word, it goes out into creation as an active participant of the creative process that the divine initiated in the very beginning, creating experiences, creating reactions and results, creating physical things as it goes. And the Fillmores are not just talking about the creative power of the words themselves, but also of the thoughts that are behind those words, and the thoughts that we attach to those words. Positive or negative, our thoughts and words have creative power over our experiences. And in some instances, power over the experiences of other people as well. So this is comedian Bill Burr with his wife, and I was watching one of his comedy routines, which he does get a bit dirty, so I'm not recommending this is something we sit down with our kids and watch, but this is Bill Burr. He talks about in any disagreement or argument he's having with his wife, all she has to do is compare him to his father, and she instantly wins. Because it so frustrates and rattles his brain that he can't function after she has made that statement, which really is a great example of the power of words. And as you can imagine, he didn't have a very shining example of a father. So all she has to say is, wow, that was just like your father, and he's just a mess. So if you think about it, if I say the word Father, what comes up for you? You can go ahead and just think about it in your own consciousness. What comes up for you? If I say the word Father, what does that bring to the surface? For some, they may link that to the idea of God, and they may bring up that reverence for God. Others might think of the love and protection that a father might provide, the idea of a father or a father figure might provide, while some might get angry and think about abandonment, abuse, and rejection. The word Father has power, but what kind of power is really up to the recipient of the word, the one experiencing that word Father. And that is where our minds really get involved in the process. The mind attaches a story to certain words. And that story likely has a very strong emotional connection along with it. And this plays out very evidently in medicine. So there was a study that was done on what is called DCIS, a non-invasive form of breast cancer. And they were looking at how using different words to describe DCIS to female patients actually changed how they responded to it. So there was an article talking about this. The article was entitled, "Terms Docs Use Can Influence Patients' Cancer Choices." The article said, "There's a strong connotation associated with the term cancer," said study co-author Elisa Ozane. "This study suggests women aren't receiving the treatments they would prefer if they received a different kind of communication." Much attention has been focused recently on the effect that terminology can have on patients. In July, a panel of experts concluded that the word cancer may need to be redefined to prevent overdiagnosis and overtreatment of conditions that are often not lethal. Basically, what they found in this study was as soon as a woman heard the word cancer, they decided to go for the most extreme option of doing surgery to cut it out, when they would lay out all the options on the table of how they could deal with this. Even though the idea of just continued observation was actually the most highly recommended by doctors. They said this is non-invasive, they just wanted to do continued observation. But as soon as the word cancer was used, most of the patients said, no, I want you to immediately cut it out. But when the researchers simply called it abnormal cells, which they are, far more women chose to just allow the appropriate action of observation and not going with the very invasive surgery practice. So the power of our thoughts and our words has recently begun to get the recognition it should. It's rising to the surface of how much power there is in our thoughts and words, which is a very good thing for us. We are becoming more aware of how much power is in these things, which means we will also need to become more accountable for them.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now.
Sing with us if you know this. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge.
I'm grateful we have a decision in this process. I want to bring this up from Proverbs, from the Bible, if you're not familiar with that's where it comes from. There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise bring healing. Think of the imagery of that statement. Words that are like sword thrusts. I read that a couple times and I thought it was a really powerful description of that idea. You're stabbing with your words. So then I thought, what are some words that you think might act like sword thrusts? I invite you to throw out words you might think are sword thrusts.
You're wrong. Stupid.
Wrong? Stupid?
You're not listening.
You're not listening?
Not good enough.
You're not good enough?
Get a brain.
Get a brain? I hear that one a lot.
You're fat and ugly.
Fat and ugly?
You have weird shoes.
You have weird shoes. I take that as a compliment. Thank you. Sinner. Yeah, that's a good one. Now, how about some words that heal? What do you think are words that heal? Love. Understand. I love you. Compassion. Intelligent. So you all can see the direct counterparts to words that stab and the words that heal those wounds from such a stabbing. Well, there was another study that looked at practitioners of acupuncture, specifically in one part of the study. They're looking at practitioners in all areas. Specifically in this area, they looked at practitioners of acupuncture. And they had one of these practitioners intentionally use more positive language with their patients. And this is what they found. And the article is called, "Doctor's Choice of Words Can Influence Patient Symptoms." The study noted that recipients of the highly positive practitioner experienced more relief regardless of correct or incorrect needle placement as compared to the recipients of the neutral practitioner, even when the needles were correctly placed. So the communication between the patient and practitioner might be more important than the actual treatment being administered. Think about that. That is a mind-blowing concept, and when I read that, it made me think of this quote from Voltaire. I hope you've read it before. "The art of medicine consists in amusing the patient while nature cures the disease." Talk about a thought before its time. So we are looking at the relationship between a patient and the healer here, only because it magnifies the situation of the power of words. But trust me, this is happening all day long, every day, between all of us as we go throughout our day having conversations with people. The words we use and how they are used are of huge importance and impact to the health of those hearing those words. Which brings us around to the second part of what the Fillmores were stating when we started with that quote. We start off with believe in the creative power of the thoughts and words, and then they said that they do accomplish that whereto they are sent, and that all men are held accountable for even their lightest words. We can't just sit back in ignorance anymore, speaking words of poison out into the world. We're much more smart than that. We're much smarter than that. What a perfect use of words in trying to say we're smarter. We're less dumb than we used to could. We've evolved to a place where we now know better, and that's not acceptable anymore. We are accountable for what we think and what we say. In Unity, we recognize a direct correlation between our thoughts, our words, and our experiences in this life, which brings more light and attention to the fact that it is time to change our habits of judgment upon others and gossip and the other things we do and anything else that intentionally demeans, demoralizes, or harms another, or even harms ourselves. We have evolved beyond